give you all the ABC of amblyopia. That all require to win over the amblyopia. We have a fight going on against amblyopia. So we have to win some, but it is the permanent cure for amblyopia. So let's begin. To start, I always say our eyes function just like a camera. Just the images and then we can see the photograph. In the same way, our eye captures the view in front of us, the images in front of us, and then it gets. So suppose somebody has gone to see the Taj Mahal, right? Taj Mahal place, and somebody wish, okay, I should go there and see Taj Mahal and its beauty, its glory. So the person went there and he's having two eyes. So what normally happens is two eye captures the same image of the view in front of us. Okay, so ideally these two images should be blurred. But in this case, as we can see, even after the best possible correction, even after we prescribe the best contact lenses to the patient, he is getting a clear image from the right eye, the ODI, whereas in the left eye, he is getting a blurred image only. Just to make this patient reach out his full potential of vision, still is left well enough to clear the vision in front of him. So in this case, when we can see one eye showing us a clear image, whereas the other eye image, despite how much we try to put in the refractive error, how much we try to correct the refractive error, this condition is amblyopia. Okay, so you refer to it as a lazy eye, but I will go on to the definition just in a few slides. This is unilateral amblyopia. Why unilateral? Only one eye. If it is affecting both the eyes, then it would be bilateral amblyopia. So suppose this condition persists for over 2 or 3 years or much longer. The dominant eye, the eye which is showing us the clear image, takes over, and then we can see the clear image only. The image being sent by the lazy eye, the amblyopic eye, was suppressed by the dominant eye. So in this case, the patient will see a clear Taj Mahal. But in the earlier case, why? Because two eyes are giving us two different images. One is clear and one is blurred. Diplopia to the patient. That will cause many discomfort to the patient in terms of contrast, in terms of diplopia. And if this persists over a longer, patient gets no correction for this, then it develops suppression in the amblyopic eye. And once suppressed, the dominant eye takes charge, and then clear image, only the clear view in front of us. So this guy now can see the clear Taj Mahal. He might not even recognize that he is having any disability. Being thoroughly checked by an optometrist. So it is our duty to screen everybody. It is our duty to check the binocularity. It can easily be screened. All we need is enthusiasm and the love towards optometry. So Hippocrates in 450, Hippocrates was a famous philosopher of that era, and he stated that when the doctor sees nothing and the patient sees nothing, the diagnosis is amblyopia. सपोज पेशेंट हमारे पास आया, हमने उसका सारे एग्जामिनेशन किया, अगर हमें उसमें कुछ डिसऑर्डर नहीं मिला, वी कैन नॉट सी एनीथिंग और एनी डिसऑर्डर इन द corneas, neither any disorder in the retina or the posterior segment, then we say, okay, this patient is having nothing related to the anatomical changes, it is not being able to see clearly, then the diagnosis is amblyopia. So this was popular since 450 BC. Why? Because we exclude every other disease, every other condition, then we conclude, okay, this is amblyopia now. For other causes, other issues which should arise, double vision or suppression. If we can find none, then only it is amblyopia. So what is amblyopia? If I ask this to anyone, the best answer is lazy eye. ये आई लेजी है, ये आई आलसी है, अब ये कुछ काम नहीं करती, पहले ये काम करते थे बट ये अब हमारे जैसे हैं लॉकडाउन। बट द राइट अप्रोच इज it is a visual cacophony of deficits in often we mistake in visual acuity only, but this patient would suffer from contrast sensitivity issue, spatial localization में भी उसको दिक्कत होगी, जो 3D vision जो एक्विटी जब हम मेजर करेंगे तो उसमें भी उसकी रिड्यूस्ड एक्विटी आएगी। वाई? बिकॉज 3D विजन इज अ प्रोडक्ट ऑफ बाइनोक्युलैरिटी। अगर हमारी आंखें दोनों एक टीम की तरह काम करेगी, विजुअल को परसेप्शन को हम गेन कर सकते हैं। अगर हम एज अ टीम काम नहीं करेंगे, सिर्फ एक ही इमेज ब्रेन के पास जाएगी, तो वो 2D विजन में ही रिजल्ट करेगी, 3D विजन वो Okay, so spatial localization, the stereopsis would be affected, fixation would be affected, ocular motility would be affected, the temporal processing, where the processing of the image also, because it is related to the neurons at all. Then the accommodation would be affected, the crowding. What is crowding? When we separate many similar objects, suppose you have two similar objects mixed in something, then you have to separate them. Then it is based in crowding. You have many objects and you have the next one is the deficit in attention. The patient might not be able to provide better attention. Why? Because he's already having diplopia. Focus better. Then motion perception would be affected, and at last would be the visual acuity loss. This was being concluded by the Esperlin 2000. Okay, so now we understood what the disease is. Now we have to go towards, okay, is this having any treatment or not? So earlier treatment was patching of better. But many of you have seen this or have seen patients being advised patching. Why? Because patching was a common modality being prescribed till now. But now many practitioners or the world is shifting towards the active therapy. Why? Because it has some difficulties. Why? The embarrassment. Suppose somebody advised me to cover my better eye and then go play, then it would be a lot embarrassing for me and I won't be able to do it. Why? Because it makes the others. Okay, then he would be much more prone to bullying and all. So we need to see the social status or how the child is going to react. So cosmetic embarrassment is one of the major reasons of fallout. Then the next one is difficulty in daily life tasks. Covered my better eye. Okay, then the amblyopic eye is already giving me a blurred image. If I am seeing a blurred image, a blurred vision only, how can somebody expect me to when the patients were prescribed, they were asked to, okay, then you have to sit at somewhat a longer distance and then see the TV while by covering the better eye. So you cannot see the TV clearly, then there's no point. It will only result in headache to you. The third one is extremely slow result. Suppose some for 1 year, 2 year, then we can see the improvement of 2 or 3 lines at most. But can you imagine patching your better eye daily for and after all of this, how much result are we getting? Is it worth it or not? So it is in terms of the result. Then the next one is risk of reversal. What is risk of reversal? Let me rephrase this as uh, seeing everything in front of us, but the better eye, the eye which was giving us the clear vision, was patched, and that too daily. Something, or suppose you have a better hand, then if you can rest it daily, then it will arise some difficulty. In the same way, if we have yes, then what would happen is the better eye would also develop amblyopia. There are chances of the good eye developing amblyopia. Then the next one is patient compliance is poor. Why? Because the major chunk of this amblyopia patient, there would be pediatric patients mostly, so they won't comply much to patching. Okay, they're already seeing the blurred vision and they won't cooperate with the parents. So we needed a new solution. Now we know what the problem is. We know what the earlier solution is, but more effective. So we need a new solution. We need a new therapy. We need a new modality to bring this all up, bring this all against. So we have, but similarly, we have developed a tool, a weapon, which we can use to fight all of this. The weapon is vision therapy, and by vision therapy, we can fight squint, strabismus, accommodation disorder, learning disability, convergence and divergence disorders also. All of vision therapy umbrella. So now let us understand how big is this problem. Global population. Suppose the world population is 7.7 billion, so 4%, 108 million patients, and they are waiting for some vision therapy. Care practitioners who provide vision therapy. You need to imagine you can first imagine the number of eye care practitioners in our country or in the world. Right, there are only 5% who know vision therapy and who provide vision therapy. So there are around the world. So it is a blooming field. It is a field of future which needs to be taken up. The problem is very big. Our enemy is very powerful. So we need army to combat. We need army to fight the disease. Problem is we understood what amblyopia is. It is time for us to classify. Suppose if some patient comes to me, I have it. Okay, so first comes classification. So under classification, if it is caused due to squint, or you can see an amblyopia, then it is strabismic amblyopia. It comes under strabismic amblyopia. Suppose you see a patient visits you and there is a difference of refractive error. Is anisometropic refractive amblyopia. If the amblyopia is being caused by a great difference amblyopia. Now second, if the amblyopia is being caused by the cylindrical, it is meridional refractive amblyopia. Third one is isoametropic amblyopia. So suppose if both the eyes have the same refractive correction, even after that we can see that the patient is not improving further and is amblyopic, then it is isorefractive amblyopia. Clear till now, or shall I explain anything to you again?
Please explain the constant or strabismic amblyopia.
Shall I repeat that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So the first one is strabismic amblyopia. Amblyopia, what we have to see that now we diagnose this patient is amblyopic based on the stereo acuity and the visual acuity. We can easily diagnose if the patient is amblyopic or not. Then the next patient. To classify, we need to see if the patient is having any squint associated in the eye or not. Suppose you do a cover test and you say, okay, this patient is having. So what would be the conclusion of that patient? The diagnosis of that patient would be esotropia of following prism diopters and a strap in that eye. Okay, why? Because it is associated with squint and amblyopia. If the squint and amblyopia, you can find both of these, then it is strabismic amblyopia. The squint needs to be constant and non-alternating. The constant means it should not be like one not, it should not be intermittent, right? And it should not be alternating. What I mean by alternating, like if you cover the right eye, then you can see the, and vice versa. So it should be non-alternating and constant. If you can easily see the squint associated with the amblyopia. Okay. So now we have covered the second point. So second point also. We are now to the third one. So what is visual deprivation? Under visual deprivation, suppose there are some media opacities. For example, we can see the patient is having congenital cataract. So the patient obviously would not improve in the visual acuity and contrast acuity. Why? Because there is an opacity in the media. In the eye, there is the light, and that is not being able to reach till the macula or till the fovea. Why? Because there is media opacity present. We treat that, we be able to go through. So first, suppose you have a patient coming up with congenital cataract, you her operated for cataract. After that, you can start vision therapy to negative the effect of amblyopia. The next, suppose you see somebody having drooping of upper eyelid, then what would it result in? It would result in blurred vision. Why? Because it would just block the light from passing. Okay, and the light, that if you cover the better eye, it will somehow and after some time chances of the better eye developing amblyopia due to patching. So it comes under reverse occlusion amblyopia. Okay, so result in amblyopia. That's why we need to get rid of the patching modality and shift towards the newer advancements. So we need to go for the vision therapy part, and to classify this, we would classify this as occlusion amblyopia. Okay, this is caused by the reversal into the better eye due to occlusion. This was the classification being provided by American Academy of Optometry, and this is being followed worldwide. Now we have classified, okay, this patient that we have to grade, is it moderate, is it mild, or is it severe? So to do that, we have the PEDIG helped us has this mode classified within. So for that, we have the mild ranging between, if the visual acuity you can see between 20 and 20 by 25 to 20 by 40. Then if the visual acuity is 20 by 40 to 20 by 100, it will be moderate. If the visual acuity is 20 by 100 to 20 by 400, it will be okay. So if anybody wishes, they can take the screenshot from here. It would be very helpful in your routine OPD. So whenever you wish to grade a taking procedure, whenever you fill the prescription sheet, once you reach the proper diagnosis, it would be this patient goes to some other practitioner. The practitioner would be flattened by your skills, by the way you are. So suppose somebody comes to me and I have diagnosed this as mild anisometropic refractive amblyopia. Okay, so in that, patient would also get the proper benefit of the individualized therapy, and even if he goes to some other consultant, the consultant would know that it is being. So these are the clinical investigations we need to take. So first, I'll be focusing upon this in detail in the next slide. Why? Because history taking is the tool, is the weapon which helps us half diagnosis of any disease. If you take the history right, half of the diagnosis is already in your mind. You all know that. So we have to be very focused, very clear, and very friendly in the history taking procedure. Why? Because the majority of the patient would be children. So you have to be very friendly with them. You have to often you have to indulge the child into some activity or into some playing, then only you can reveal the best history out of him. Next one, equity. Then cycloplegic refraction. keratometry, dilated fundus examination. Then comes the monocular test for fixed test by using an ophthalmoscope. I will be discussing all of these in detail in the next slides. This is just for the basic. Sensory fusion test, stereopsis, ocular alignment test, the H test we all use. Then to evaluate the strength of suppression, we have separate test by and then visual efficiency test, how efficient a child is at reading or at comprehending the text. Now, this is what I was talking about, amblyopia specific history. So these are the points you need to note whenever there is an amblyopia patient. Foremost, is there any family history of amblyopia? If there's family history of amblyopia, there are chances that it is due to the hereditary transfer. The next one is, are being taken for amblyopia? So you need to have this information with you that have the patient opted for patching or any other treatment previously for amblyopia only. The third, developmental milestone. You need to ask the parents how are the milestones of the child while growing up. Is he talking at the proper? Then the earlier compliance. If suppose the patient was following patching earlier, how compliant was he following daily? Was he not much interested? What was the condition? We need to document each and everything we can take out of the patient. Then the age of diagnosis. When was the first time you came to know that you have developed amblyopia or this is amblyopia? When was the first time? Then if the patient was following confirm the details. How much hours was he patching? Any eye drops were used or not? How was he patching with any tissue or any patch or for 2 years? We need to have the proper amblyopia specific history for that patient. In the pre-verbal kids, but to resolve the issue, we have preferential looking test, optokin. For the verbal ones, we all know that we have illiterate, Landolt, C, Snellen, CTTRS, Lia symbol, HOT. Can get into your OPD, just go for that. And we have to be very specific and very focused while taking a visual acuity. Sometimes the patient might be malingering. Misdiagnosing it as amblyopia, we need to be very careful. We need to provide our best focus towards taking visual acuity. And the next is refraction. So we all know how to provide the best refraction. To do that, the best and the rewarded modality is retinoscopy. We should always rely on retinoscope rather than just power range, but a retinoscopy would reveal a lot about the eye. Then we need, there might be hyperopic components being attached to this. Then we need to go for subjective acceptance. We need to check for keratometry, that is there everything normal with the cornea or not. So next one is Bruckner's test. It is often called as red reflex test. It is being performed by using a direct ophthalmoscope. We all have. How do we use it? We just have to set it to the brightest light, and then you have routine OPD, how a routine is being arranged at 6 feet chart. So you can just stand it in between it and then shine the light of ophthalmoscope onto the forehead of patient. Okay, just I'm repeating it again. You have to shine. Light would be distributed in both the eyes simultaneously. Then you have to tell the patient to look at the light. You can room lights to minimize the distractions, and you can also get a clear view via that. Then you have to compare the brightness and color of light. See both eye, and you need to see which one is the brightest. So the brighter and pale reflex is found in, anisometropic eye. It is a gold standard of diagnosing amblyopia when it is strabismic or anisometropic. If you find a brighter reflex in one of the eye, then it might be strabismic or anisometropic eye. Moving on, now we have motor evaluation. So for motor evaluation, what do we need? We need ocular motility test. So for that, we use the broad edge. Ask the patient to move his eyes on in all the 9 gauges. Then we have to note the finding. Are they full free, normal, or any risk to the patient. Next one is ocular alignment. We need to see for the alignment. We need to screen the patient for squint or strabismus. To see to do that, we need to evaluate how much prism diopters was the difference. Then we should go for PBCT. Refractive without refractive correction, but if we do this with refractive correction, there won't or any misdiagnosis into that. Next one is sensory evaluation. So these are evaluations related to the senses. We have first one is stereopsis. Stereopsis is nothing but the 3D vision of the patient. To evaluate that, we have two options. Example, TNO chart. TNO chart is the chart being shown in the A image with the use of the evaluation of strabismus. And there's also option for local stereopsis, the contour based. And it must circle test, or you can even say the butterfly test you all must have seen. So it is being shown in the B image of the presentation. Then we have test for distance and near. Both for dot test has to be done for distance and near both, and under both condition, the photopic and light and under dim light. So we need to see how well the patient is performing in terms of 3D vision and in terms of the for dot test. Now, this is one of the gold standard in diagnosing amblyopia. This is Bagolini. Get into the top left corner of the presentation. So these are the lenses transparent to us, but when you look at them closely, when you wear them, then you can see there are patterns onto them. One of the patterns are such as shown on just slide. So one eye is having the patterns inclined into the other side, whereas other eye is having pattern inclined to the other side. So in the ideal condition, two lines should intersect at center, and it should result in fusion, normal retinal correspondence. Okay. Each other at the center only. So it is how a normal patient should see with the Bagolini striatal lens test. If the patient is seeing something like E image, so under E image, what is it that it is saying? So what is happening that we are getting the signal from only one eye and the other eye is not even getting us the signal. So if only one line is visible, it is suppression, as you can see in the E image. Then if there's a small gap at intersecting, you can see a small gap in the center, then it is central suppression scotoma. The center intersecting, but not at the center. They are intersecting, but either above the center or either below the B and C image of the presentation. So Bagolini striatal lens test are amblyopia and the kind of diplopia or the suppression the patient is having. Next one is strength of suppression. What I mean is use a Bagolini striatal lens test and a neutral hand. This is a neutral density filter when it is placed in front of good eye. From amblyopic eye, the patient is the patient is presented in front of the, and then this neutral density filter is placed in front of the good eye, the non-amblyopic eye, the better eye. Till how long we need to increase its strength till the amblyopic eye starts to provide us with an image, starts to provide us with a stream we were not earlier getting. Okay, so in ideally when there is suppression, the Bergolini results in the single line only. Only one line is filter in front of the better eye till the amblyopic eye gives us response, and acting or the two lines on the paper, then it is this NDF is NDF has various palettes, the contrast palettes, and they have grades. Easily place one decimal before and you can get your strength of suppression. Suppose somebody is having in the amblyopic eye. Endpoint of this test is the intensity of line seen by eye is same or slightly stronger than fellow eye. Moving on, we have other significant tests like accommodation facility. For fixation preference, we need to do the central and steady fixation. And monocular adapters brace out test. For vergence assessment, we need to go for NPC, PFE, and negative fusional vergence. For reading the most neglected ones and ideally the most important ones, we need to check the fluency and the ability of the patient to read a paragraph. We should provide the patient with any reading fluency or the way the patient reads this reveals a lot about the condition of the patient. If he's having any trouble,
Excuse me, Puneet sir. Sorry for interrupting.
yes,
So if somehow session end, please join with the same link.
okay.
Okay.
So can you tell me how much time we have left?
Just it is like 2 or
Slide and then we'll continue when we get back.
okay,
So
sure.
the
Thank you.
मैनेजमेंट पार्ट, अब हमें एम्ब्लियोपिया समझ आ गया, उसकी कितने प्रेवलेंस है वो पता चल गया, हमें पता चल गया पैचिंग के क्या इफेक्ट्स होते हैं, कैसे हम लेकिन अब वो न्यूअर मोडेलिटी क्या है, वो न्यूअर एडवांसमेंट क्या है जिसकी वजह से हम एम्ब्लियोपिया कर पाएंगे, वो गोल होता है कि हम उसकी बाइनोकुलरिटी को रिस्टोर करें, हम उसके विजन को इम्प्रूव कर सकें. Is not the goal of vision therapy. A happy patient is the goal of vision therapy. When would the patient be happy? And earlier is having photophobia, earlier he is having the diplopia. Whenever you relieve the patient from and coming to the management, we need to establish the best refractive correction for that patient first. Then we need to perform binocular vision in free space. Then we start a home therapy program also. In this small cutting in the presentation, you can see various exercises. These are being used as active vision exercises being used as home therapy program. The patient can do this himself, and this will result in the improving the. It comes under active vision therapy in amblyopia. So this is under the chronological order. First, they arrived and they were used for active stimulation of phobia to overcome eccentric fixation. They are effective, and even there are side effects of using intense light onto the eye of patient. Then the second is cam vision stimulation. So under chem vision stimulation, the embryopic eye is stimulated by slowly rotating high contrast square wave gratings. This is stimulating cortical neurons. Then one of the other thing which once became very popular in active vision therapy is syntonic phototherapy. What is selected visible light frequencies through the eyes? There are selected light frequencies which are being passed through the eyes. We start getting response from the lazy eye, from the emblyopic eye. Next one is perceptual learning. Is it employs repeatedly practicing a visual discrimination task, as I was talking about crowding earlier. So we have covered till software based vision therapy. So under software based vision therapy, we have designed it to improve. We have designed it to improve saccades, pursuits, contrast, visual acuity, crowding, and visual memory. All of these can be implemented at once just by use of the software based vision therapy program. And there was this pharmacological. Hello. So there was this pharmacological therapy which was being used earlier. So what is the and citicoline? But citicoline is not much effective as proved by the sensitive period of neural plasticity. Okay, so we usually avoid the pharmacological, go towards whatever provides the patient with an individualized approach, with an approach which can stimulate. So I was also associated with CureSeed, so I will explain a bit about it also. What does CureSeed use? First and foremost, it uses a blue and red spectacle, a red and blue glass, as you can see in front of you. जब भी हम कोई 3D मूवी देखने जाते हैं, हमें कोई रेड और ब्लू 3D मूवी नहीं देख पाते, हमें वो शेडो इमेज उनकी अपीयर होती है. So why this? These are called the anaglyphs. The patient have to wear them, and then he has to perform the exercises on a computer or on a laptop. Is the 3D vision, and the second is it is helpful in dioptics. I will explain one by one. First one is random dot stereogram, the RDS module. What is RDS? RDS is same as you can see in the Titmus fly test. Okay, as many of you have seen that, you can see a 3D butterfly floating onto the on the top of the book. You can see the butterfly floating. Where and which can be seen, which can be the exercises can be performed only after the patient wears the anaglyph. Wears this red and blue glasses, and they are also provided by CureSeed at no extra cost. Second one is dioptics principle. These are all in a computer vision software. So second one is dioptics principle. What is dioptics? Let's break down these two words. Di means colors. So the use of two colors. We use red and blue in our software only. Why red and blue only? You must ask me that why you use on anaglyph glasses and why red and blue only in the software? Because there's a difference of wavelength in red and blue, which is greater than the difference being provided. So it is easier to differentiate and easier to stimulate these two colors to each and every patient. So dioptics means each and every stimulus that comes from the computer software is based only on two colors, the red and the blue. Next one is what is anti-suppression, that only one eye can see at a time. Then monocular fixation in binocular field, that the red stimulus would be seen on as in the anaglyph glasses. and the blue will be seen only with the blue one. Next one is crowding phenomenon. As in the about the definition of amblyopia, I mentioned crowding was also affected. So we are working on crowding also simultaneously. So the patient is provided with a numbers on the screen. The patient has to search for the number 2 only. Then he has to. It is all being presented in the dioptics only. Okay, so the eye would get the stimulus. So anti-suppression is one eye working at a time. Once the red eye is working and then the blue eye is working. Once the amblyopic eye is working and then the non-amblyopic eye is working. Just like how we use, uh, suppose whenever we go to a gym, once we use the dumbbell with the right hand and then only with the left hand. We do not do that simultaneously because they all need rest. And last is individualized and customized contrast threshold. Okay, so what does this mean? That each and every visualize it is being made especially only for that patient. How we can do that? That it is customized by contrast threshold. Each of us sitting and listening to this right now has different contrast acuity. None of us are having the same range of contrast, which makes much more contrast deficit. So we just customize the contrast as per the interest, how much that patient can perceive, and that is being fixed and set to each and every exercise. Each exercise will be modified according to the contrast of that patient. So all of these technology, all of these principles and modules work simultaneously, so the result would be greater. Okay, the result would be greater when compared to patching only. What is being affected in the patching? In patching, we are getting nothing much more except is doing the crowding exercises and the better. Into this, we can see the dioptics working, the RDS working, the anti-suppression, crowding, and even the therapy is individualized for that patient only by use of customized contrast threshold. Why there should be any other number of softwares present also, but why we should go for QC only? Because it is the only one live updated report of each patient accessible by the practitioner, which result in easy patient management for practitioner. Suppose during this lockdown, I'm sitting at my have seen the patients earlier and dispense QC to them. Now, if the patient is following the exercises or not, how much is he progressing, what was his score, for how much time he is doing, I can get all of these updates live onto my practitioner dashboard. I do not have to call patient. I do not have to call him every week or every second day to see the update. Wherever we can access a computer or wherever we can access an internet. So it provides the easy management, provides online and offline both access to the patient. Suppose if your patient is urban, he can afford a online use the online correction to run the exercises. It is better. But even if the patient is not being able to access the internet, then also he can perform the anywhere, anytime. Then it is also the only software in the world which provides you with unlimited time access for this is I'm talking about the patient only. Patient get an account, a QC account being created by the practitioner, being created by you guys, and then it and the patient can access it for 6 months, and into the 6 month he can access it for unlimited number of. Go for anybody else, they are charging for each number of session, each number of exercise, but we do not charge for anything like that. We provide this unlimited times access for 6 months. Okay, we any number of sessions. Suppose the patient want to do once, twice, or thrice a day, he can easily do that. There's no point of stress upon this. We get started. How do we learn vision therapy? How do we join the army to treat amblyopia? How do we get started with QC? your web browser, even if you are using a mobile phone or a computer, just go to www.cursey.com. Tab and register your details. You will get the zero cost training for how you should do the work, even help in first few patients. We ourselves come and then dispense the software so that you can gain the confidence on how to handle it. Then you can easily start dispensing vision therapy at your practice. It is just into these three simple steps: register, get trained, and then start. So this is the philosophy we believe in, that providing patients with overcorrection in spectacles is not the solution. We have to treat the cause of eye strain or headache by start. Now, before moving to the next slide, you all must be wondering, I was talking about was on ABC of amblyopia, but nobody and nowhere it is mentioned about ABC. What is the ABC? I was waiting for ABC. So here I am revealing. This is the mantra you all should note down. You all should take a screenshot. You all should just capture this into your mind somehow. This is the ABC you need to fight ABC you need to combat amblyopia and win the fight. How? A for assessment of amblyopia. The assessment should be proper and very well diagnosed. You should competent on how to diagnose amblyopia and how to classify or grade that. Once you do the assessment right, then our main focus is on to B. B means binary. The patient should be free of any symptoms and the binocular system should work fine. It ABC. The third one is C. C means customized and individualized VT approach. Each patient is different. So why should vision therapy be same for all? No. So vision therapy should be customized and individualized for each. And how you can do that? By starting any vision therapy or home vision therapy program for the patient, where he can get access to the customized contrast threshold or individualized therapy, starting different exercises. So this is how you all can start and win the fight over amblyopia, just by these three simple steps of A, B, and C to fight assessment of amblyopia, binocularity restoration, customized VT approach. You must be waiting for your dinner now. If anyone is left with any